Good morning and happy Thursday, day 16 of Vlogmas. I am Stacy, the Encaustic Mixed Media artist behind Studio Stacy. If you've been waiting for me to do something with that silk roving that I dyed, I think it was weeks ago now, maybe it wasn't that long ago, all the time is all blending and blurring together this time of year. At any rate, if you're waiting for me to do something with that, I believe today is the day. I have the wax turned on and it is heating up. However, while that heats up, I think what I'm gonna do is tape down the painting that I did yesterday, or the sketch that I did yesterday, into my sketchbook. So I'm gonna do that first, make a couple notes, including like what colors I've used, the tools I used, and then of course I'm gonna label it with the video and the day, so that again, if I wanna go back and look at it, I can easily do that. So let's get started. And I go over real quickly what I'm gonna be using, just in case you are new around here, to kind of give you just a quick idea of what I am doing and what I'm using. All right, basic materials first. These black mats are actually oven mats, and they're very messy because I've used them for quite some time, but they protect the glass surface from these messy wax spills. And these messy wax spills do scrape off of the glass, but this is just a little bit easier to keep everything cleaner. So oven mats, and then up next I have pancake griddle, and the temperature is set to 150 degrees. A little tin of encaustic white paint, and then of course a natural bristle brush for the white paint. And then griddle number 2 is kind of like a fryer type of griddle. I'm honestly not sure the technical name of what you call this. I just call it a griddle, but I don't think it's technically a griddle. It's kind of like a fryer of some sort, but it has the clear encaustic wax in it, and I have a temperature set over here on the other side. I will flip the camera around and show you that, and it is set to warm. And then I also have a candy thermometer in here monitoring the temperature of this. Again, you don't want to get your encaustic wax too hot so that it becomes toxic to breathe. And then I have my heat gun, and I'm using a heat gun in this case because I'm using some silk fabric, silk roving, and I don't want to catch anything on fire. Again, safety reasons, and no fumes in the studio, or also fires in the studio. And speaking of fires, just in case, I do have a fire extinguisher, and it is typically always sitting on my work table within somewhat of arm's reach, so that just in case, knock on wood, I've never had one, but you just never know. Safety first. A few more tools that I may or may not use are some scrapers, and these are actually used for ceramics. These two are. This is a really inexpensive one. As a matter of fact, this end has completely fallen off. But and then I have this metal blade that I can scrape off of bumps and chips and things like that if I want. Then of course my trusty apron to protect my clothes, even though typically I'm wearing a t-shirt and nothing too fancy. Still don't want to ruin every single t-shirt I own, so a nice little apron works well. And the last 2 items are of course the silk roving here, and this I'm going to mention again, and I'll link down below there in the description. This is from Plum Crazy Fibers. It's a natural silk roving that I dyed with some India ink. And then this is the background that I'm going to be using. I may not leave it exactly like this, but this is the start of it, and it is on just plain old mixed media paper, nothing fancy. First, I want to get this silk roving arranged on this background to a way that I think I kind of like. Before I put wax down and a bunch of other stuff down, I just want to make sure it's kind of situated in how I like it. And you will see I'm feeling a little precious about this for some reason. I have more of it, but I don't know. I just feel like I want to save as much as possible. So I take some scissors and cut it, and I attempt to tear it, but tearing it in this direction does not work. However, continue to watch because it does tear and stretch in the other direction. So sit back and enjoy the video. I forgot to mention one more, or a couple more items. I have a piece of wax paper out, and that way when I put the wax down on here, I can gently press this down, and the wax paper in theory should not stick, and then just peel it back up. I also have a metal spoon. I'm not sure if I'm going to use this or not, but sometimes this comes in handy to just kind of go over like this and press everything down. But I don't know if I'll need this or not because this is a pretty fine fiber, so it might not be needed. So what I need to do first is warm up the background. And you'll see I use the heat gun on my hand briefly when I first turn it on just to get it warmed up. I don't want to blow more cold air onto a cooler surface. And even as it gets warm, I do the same thing just because I never want to stick cold air onto the background. And once it's warmed up, I start laying down that roving, and I attempt to heat the roving up with the heat gun and kind of embed it into the wax. But you'll see this roving is really light and it just blows it around. So instead, what I do is I take some clear encaustic medium and I layer that on, and then again heat that with the heat gun. I go back and forth between encaustic medium, scraping some off if I get too much on with the scraper, and the heat gun. And then I eventually add in some white paint. And again, just heating between each layers, arranging this roving how I like it before I get too much of the wax down, and just really working in a lot of layers. So I'm going to let you sit back and enjoy the video, and I will pop back in if I think of anything else to say. In the meantime, if you have any questions, again, just leave them down below in the comment section. Up next, I want to bring out this texture even more. So I'm going to be using an oil stick, one of my favorite ways to do that. But first I have to put on gloves to protect my hands, because as you will see, I'm going to be really rubbing this into all of the nooks and crannies. Now these oil sticks have like a protective coating on them. When they dry, they kind of get like a rubber coating on them. So you just have to peel that off and then you're good to go. But I simply rub this all over and then rub it into the nooks and crannies with my fingers, really kind of not digging in, but really smushing it in, I should say. And then once I'm happy with how it's all smushed in, I take paper towels and wipe off the excess.
And I do go through a few paper towels during this process. They get pretty dirty and pretty messed up, but I haven't found another or more environmentally friendly way to do this. So instead, I really try to be conscious in other ways to be environmentally friendly. However, if anybody that is an artist that has done this in the past has another method other than paper towels and or old t-shirts, things like that, because you have to throw this material out. At least I've found there's not really any other use for it. So, but if you have one, or if you have another more environmentally friendly way, I would love to know. So again, I'm going to let you sit back and enjoy the process. Another way to bring out encaustic texture is to hit the tops of the texture. And I'm doing this with some pan pastels and just a sponge. It's kind of a makeup sponge, so they're soft and stiff all at the same time. And I'm just gently going over the top, picking up the raised ridges with this. And again, of course, you have to fuse between each of these layers, and you want to fuse really lightly between these last layers as to not obliterate the texture and to not fuse too much of this pan pastel down into the wax and lose all of it. But again, I'll let you sit back and enjoy the process. A few last finishing touches with some India ink and a dip pen, and this is almost done. And remember when I said I try to be a little bit more environmentally conscious in other areas? One of those areas is to not waste any leftover ink. I either pour it back into the bottle, or in this case, I add it to a background that I will eventually use later on in my sketchbook or in a painting. And so yeah, that's one of the ways not to waste any other material.
All right, I believe this is where I'm going to leave you for the day. I'm going to flip the camera around and show you the final results of this quick little sketch / painting. So I initially had it going this way with this yellow portion up top here, but I actually think I like it going this way instead. Get you some close-ups here. I really like certain portions of this. Like this area here is really cool looking to me. And so is this area over here, where there's a little less encaustic wax, strangely enough, even though I'm an encaustic painter. I like where there's a little less wax on the silk roving, so you can really kind of see those threads. But there you have it, the finished sketch. Oh, and I really like this little part just kind of hanging off here. So that's it for me today. As always, if you guys have any questions, definitely leave them down below in the comments. I'm happy to answer anything. Or if you just have any general comments or just want to say hi, leave that down there too. I hope you did like it. If you do like the video, you know, thumbs up. If you're not subscribed, please consider doing so. It helps me out a lot. As always, thanks so very much for watching. We'll talk to you soon. Happy Vlogmas, and bye for now.